But what I want to ask, the question I want to ask as a casual, just an outsider, how do so again, to me, if you're in the MLS league, you want to be the top of the MLS, and obviously coming into the season, Inter Miami has been at the bottom, but now with the acquisition of Messi, they've been beating MLS teams, but not in the MLS season, right? So if you had to rank cups or certain tournaments, how does it rank? That's what's confusing to me. Is like, if I'm in the MLS, I want to be the top of the MLS. I want to be the best in the MLS. But you're saying about these, now we have the U.S. Open, we have the Leagues Cup. How do these cups rank? Like, well, let's say if Inter Miami, obviously we talked about their chances of winning the MLS regular season or going to the playoffs of that. They might not make it because they have to win 8 games in a row, and they might get a chance to play in the MLS playoffs. But they won the Leagues Cup, and they have a possibility of winning this the Open Cup or whatever. I'm mixing up cups now, but how do these cups rank in a season of the team?
Okay, so for our region, which is CONCACAF, the end all be all, the Super Bowl, the thing you want to win is the Champions League, which has now been rebranded to the Champions Cup. The Champions Cup, that's what you're going after.
Okay.
Like when you watch like Europe and you watch the biggest leagues, they're playing in the Champions League. That's like our version of the Champions League. The winner from Mexico, the winner from Central American countries, and the winners from MLS. So the whole goal everybody wants to do within league play and their other tournaments. So only the United States, we can qualify through other cups. Every other country in the world, the only way to really qualify is to win or be top in your league. So the end all be all in CONCACAF, you want to lift the trophy. Seattle Sounders were the first MLS team to ever lift the trophy last year. Prior to that, Mexican teams have always won it. They've always been the powerhouse. So it was a really big deal last year when the Seattle Sounders won the championship. Below that, I personally rank, and I'm sure everybody else does, if you're MLS, you're winning the league title. Winning the league title is huge. You know what I mean? Like, because at the end of the day, you're still the champion of the league. You win the league title, you get certain advancements, like you skip around and stuff like that in the Champions Cup. And also, you're the king of the MLS. You won it. You won the whole thing. But there's multiple ways that you don't have. That's not just the only way to get into the Champions Cup, because they want to make it a big tournament. It used to just be the winner from each country.
Yeah.
Now they want to expand it, so there's other ways to do it. So like the Eastern Conference winner. So the ways to get into MLS for that is you'd be the champion of MLS, the Supporter Shield, which is the best record in the entire league, and then the opposite conference winner.
Okay.
And then the U.S. Open Cup winner, and now with this new Leagues Cup thing, because with the Leagues Cup, they also expanded the CONCACAF Champions Cup. The top 3 of the Leagues Cup qualify for the Champions.
They get an invite. Okay, so that's
the whole reason why you want to kind of win these tournaments or place high in these tournaments. Is those are other. So like if you're kind of like prior to Messi coming, we're like, man, I don't know if we're gonna make the playoffs, but you know what?
We're still
in the champion. We're still in the U.S. Open Cup.
Yeah,
if we can win this Open Cup, we can get into the Champions League.
Yeah.
So like a lot of teams towards the end of the season, if they start to realize like, hey, maybe the MLS Cup's out of reach or the playoffs are out of reach, you know what? Let's start taking the U.S. Open Cup serious, because some teams start to take the U.S. Open Cup. They don't take it so serious. They put up backup squads and stuff because they're trying to prioritize the league or prioritize the Champions League that they might be in, like LAFC did. Like LAFC made it to the final of the Champions Cup again, but then lost to Club Leon in Mexico. So yeah, so it's pretty much, if we're talking about America, Champions Cup, MLS Cup, and then you can throw in the other 2. Leagues Cup and U.S. Open Cup.
And so that
used to just be Open Cup. That used to be the only other thing outside of the league. Now we've added this Leagues Cup, so now you have 2, which is pretty on par with other countries around the world. Most countries around the world have 2 cups plus their league.
Okay, that's what was confusing me. I was trying to figure out. I was like, what's important? Because to me, it was like, if I'm in the MLS, I want to win the MLS. If we're at the bottom of the barrel, it's like there's no chance. But like you're saying, there's
trophies are still trophy too. Yeah, so
you're saying there's different avenues to get into the Champions League. All right. That's as a casual, excuse my ignorance. That's what I was trying to figure out. I was like, what's important? But it seems like, we're already kind of in it because we won the U.S.
And that's why I was saying the whole NBA tournament thing is fucking stupid because it doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. Versus like we win the Open Cup, it means something. One, we get a legitimate trophy, you know what I mean, and two, we qualify for something else. Obviously, America's an anomaly with us qualifying for that because most other leagues, it's purely based on league play. But we decided to kind of, I guess, to add more attention to our cups. Like we decided to give it some of our berths to the winners of those.
And then I guess my second question would be like the level of play, right? Because you say the NBA, the NBA is trying to do this league thing, but imagine, obviously, let's say we have Kansas City Chiefs in football, NFL. Kansas City Chiefs win the Super Bowl, and it's like, okay, now the Kansas City Chiefs are going to go play the Ottawa Canucks or something. Like they're going to play some Canadian
the
team,
champions of the CSL. CFL, yeah.
They're going to play the Montreal Mooses or something. It's like, well,
I think it's the Montreal Alouettes or something.
Well, I don't know. Listen, you get what I'm saying. Like, it's like, them, I'm making a football analogy. Them being the champions of the NFL, like, makes them the best football team in the entire world because there's no other football league. But for me, it's confusing because now they're playing other teams in other leagues. So I'm like, I'm trying to figure out what's the level of competition. Is the MLS the top of the competition? Is it the Leagues Cup the top of the competition? Is the Open Cup the top of the competition? Where is the most competitive? How do you define the best of the season? That's for me as a casual.
The best, yeah. The best is the Champions Cup because you're facing the best of every country in your continent. Yeah. So, we're going to face the best of Central America. We're going to face the best of the Caribbean. We're going to face the best of Mexico. We're going to face the best of Canada. Obviously, the two powerhouse leagues in our region is USA and Mexico. So, usually ends up being kind of a USA-Mexico kind of battle a lot of times because the Central American, Caribbean teams and Canadian teams can kind of be kind of feeder, which happens in Europe too. I mean, there's really the big dogs in Europe is going to be France, England, Spain, Italy, Germany, and then any other country, they're going to be in the Champions League, but they're just kind of beating them. But so now that we're in it, the Champions Cup, we can start following that, and the Champions Cup starts around the same time the season starts next year, around March, February. So pretty much right when the season starts, we're going to be playing alongside the season as well as Champions Cup.
Yeah.
So that's going to be fun. And then also too, this isn't so much of a big, it's nice, but obviously the big thing is winning your continental championship. But you win the continental championship, now you're talking about getting into the Club World Cup, which FIFA just now implemented a new format. So the Club World Cup used to be kind of like a cheesy, little friendly friendly tournament, where it was basically every champion from every continent. So, you won the Champions Cup, you advance. If you win the UEFA Champions League in Europe, you're in. You win the Asian one, the South American, African, all in a 7-team tournament because there's 7 continents, a 7-team tournament. But now they just recently expanded it, FIFA did, because obviously FIFA kind of wants to fill in those World Cup windows, to where now they've expanded the Club World Cup to 24 teams. So now each continent is getting certain berths, and each continent decides their own different ways of how they want to do it. But ours, one way to get into the Club World Cup is winning the Champions Cup. That's the only way we can get into it. And basically, they're going to we have 4 spots in the Club World Cup. 4 teams can qualify it in CONCACAF, and it's basically the previous 4 winners of the CONCACAF Cup, which starting in 2020. So basically, Monterrey won in 2021, my bad. Monterrey won in 2021. Seattle Sounders won in 2022. Club Leon won it in 2023. And now the winner of next year is going to determine the final spot to get in for the 2025 World Cup, which is Club World Cup, which is going to be hosted here in America. So that's a whole other discussion of the Club World Cup, but I'm really excited for that to be a thing now. I think that's really cool. And we can actually see MLS teams and Mexican teams and Asian teams play legitimate competitions against some of the best teams in Europe. Yeah. So that's going to be really cool. It's what makes soccer the beautiful game, man. Not just the play on the field looks beautiful, but also just the fact that you have every country in the world all involved. It's pretty sick.